Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. Today, we discuss something exquisite. This is the Breguet Type XX Aeronavale. Of course, it is a modern luxury watch, but its heritage dates back to 1954 when the French military aviation contract, known as Type 20, spawned a legion of aviation chronographs made by a number of companies, including Breguet. But it was Breguet that built the watch the longest, stayed most committed to the contract, and ultimately became inextricably linked to the model line. So what we have here, the caliber 3800, a modern-day tribute to the original Type 20, but with luxury specification. Revived in the 1990s in the form you see right here, caliber 3800 is the Aeronavale without the date. Transatlantique has the date, but the size of both, 39 millimeters, is exquisite. We have here a genuine tritium dial, something rarely seen on a modern era watch. So let's jump straight into the dimensions, and then we'll come back to this dial. The watch is 39 millimeters in diameter, 14.5 millimeters thick, and delightfully compact at 45.6 lug-to-lug, with a surprisingly broad 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. I say surprisingly broad because for a 1990s watch design, a large lug spacing is an unusual thing. That's usually a hallmark of more modern watches, so it was ahead of its time. Because it is so short lug to lug, it fits beautifully on my wrist. Now, I am pulling the strap tight, and the strap is not broken in, so it's still hard. That means the watch looks broader than it is. I'm constricting my wrist. Still, looking down the barrel, you can see the lugs are nowhere near the edge of my wrist. Over the top, they're still not over the edge of my wrist. In profile, you can see how much of this watch's thickness is the sloped bezel and the domed crystal. So yeah, it will actually fit underneath a lot of dress cuffs. I'd say this watch would wear well on a wrist down to 14 centimeters circumference. The strap is beefy. You can see the underside of it is thin, blade-like, and flexible, but the remainder is a aviation-style bolstered calfskin. So it's a very dark blue. It's got a lot of stuffing or bolstering inside it to give it volume and beef. And you can see how it's got a stitch pattern down both sides that accentuates the swell of the flanks and the center line. You can also see that it's substantial on both sides, as the opposite has been completely bolstered. And one of the surprises is that this is a rare strap that is both stitched and bonded. So you can see that the underside has been attached to the top side by means of adhesive bonding. So there's no stitching down here holding these things together. You can see how thick the layer is up top. Then you've got internal stitching to create the impression of constrained material and wrap the flares and the swells around the bolstering. So an unusual strap in that it's both bonded and stitched. I've never seen that before, but it creates a very robust and luxurious mid-century aviation aesthetic. The buckle is held to the strap using a screw and a bar, and then we've got a clasp that is single fold deployant and friction fit. You can see it is rose gold like the watch. Snaps shut with alacrity and security. We've got a crown that is a screw down, so the 100-meter water resistance is a very serious thing. The lugs have a little bit of a teardrop undertuck, and they break out of a case that is coined, and we've got chronograph pushers, which are pump style and vintage inspired, a bidirectional timing bezel, because this is an aviation style bezel here, not a dive bezel. That said, a lot of bidirectional bezels don't have a well-defined detent or click. This actually does. Taking a look at the watch in the dark, it's going to glow for a second and then utterly vanish because this is original factory tritium. Now, the dial is older than the hands. Both are tritium. I feel like at one point, this watch got a new set of tritium hands, and the hands are also tritium, and they also fade to black. So you will notice that neither one of these things is luminova, and all three hands are tritium. So this is a genuine modern era watch with a T-signed dial. Give it 3-4 minutes, you won't see a thing. And you can also appreciate that because hands and dial are both tritium, they both have a nice, even, creamy tritium fade. This is absolutely not Fotina. We have a little bit of adhesive on the crystal, which I'm going to remove here. A wonderful blue dial. Again, no date. This is the Aeronavale. And you can see a big eye minute counter. So we've got a large scale minute counter. All three registers feature an azurage or concentric pattern internally. And the watch features hands that are a lovely combination of baton with a syringe end, so a baton-syringe hybrid. I always love to see something like that. It's delicate, handsome, and vintage evocative. The big I minute register presumes that the minutes are more important to a pilot than the hours, so the hour register is small, and the big I minute register is large. The watch does feature a flyback chrono capability, just like the original Type 20. The idea being that if you're timing events that occur in rapid succession, being able to reset and restart without having to stop will save you some time and allow more precise measurement. Now, looking inboard, you can see there's a polished gold rehaut, which reflects light back down onto the dial. And again, no date. It also isn't a hacking seconds movement, but that's just a property of the Breguet caliber 582. Underneath that case back, Breguet 582, what is it? It's based on the LeMans 1350, one of the finest cam chronographs ever made. Automatic winding with a 48-hour power reserve. It has a 4 hertz beat rate. Pivots on 24 jewels. It's 31 millimeters in diameter, so it's a nice big movement that fills this case properly. And 48-hour power reserve with flyback capability. It has a cam and a lateral clutch. The quality of the cam action is superb and crisp. Don't anyone ever tell you that just as a matter of course, cam chronographs are always duff and indistinct and column wheel chronographs are always sharp. It really depends on the quality of the cam or the column wheel. I felt column wheels that felt like fried dough, and I felt cam chronographs that are as sharp as a rifle bolt, and this is a lot closer to the latter. So one of the great chronograph movements of the second half of the 20th century, the LeMans 1350, doing business as Breguet caliber 582. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.